Today I'm going to show you a quick masterclass, basically taking you from what Claude Code actually is, how it really works, how do the agents work, and getting it up and running. Now this is for complete beginners. If you've never touched a terminal and you're scared of coding, don't worry, this is just for you. So let's get into it. So I'm going to fundamentally reframe how you perceive Claude Code. So Claude Code is called Claude Code, right? And that means people worry that it's all about coding. And in a sense, it kind of is. So we have Claude Chat, which is normal, Claude Code, and then we have Claude Cowork. Now, of these three can often be difficult to understand which is for which. That's really for another video, but in essence, you can think about it like chat is just for chatting, code is for anything that's programmatic, and Cowork is enhanced to work with other applications so that you can work with it. So with coding, the interesting part about it is that everything fundamentally is ones and zeros. So every piece of software, this video you're watching, is just a number of ones and zeros in a computer somewhere. So at this fundamental level, everything is a 1 and a 0. And now these ones and zeros are stored as files, pretty much always as files here inside the maybe directories, and then these are stored on computers, and then a computer can then talk to another computer programmatically, generally through what's called an API. So we could have some software running on here, some code, which then goes and interacts with this file. Now, this is so fundamental in reframing how you think about using Claude Code, because, for example, if you have an MP4 file, you want to convert it. Now, if you know nothing about tech, that can seem like magic. If you know a little bit, you can know it's some conversion software. But if you know the fundamentals, you can turn an MP4 into an MP3 simply by writing some Python code. Why? Because Python code is code, and all code is ultimately just code at the end of the day, and all files are ultimately just bits of code at the end of the day, or ones and zeros that can be moved around using something like this. So when you reframe this idea, it means you could, for example, have a video, and that video can, also will have in it some audio track, and this will all be in, zeros and ones. And you could ask Claude Code to cut out the points in the video where there are no speaking. And you could ask it to do that because it can go and reason, it can find the relevant Python packages to then do this here. Now, my first understanding of this was actually in doing this exact thing. I don't know, 3 years ago maybe, when I was, maybe like that, when I had made a kind of fundamental, like a little software like this. And it blew my mind because then suddenly I was like, wait, files are just ones and zeros. Code manipulates ones and zeros. I can just use that. So you can do this now for anything. So, for example, the API here, a problem that I recently had, YouTube videos. On all of my YouTube videos, you have a link, right? So we'll call it link here. And we'll maybe have a couple of them, so 2, 3, whatever. Now, I wanted to go through 500 videos and change this link. Now, manually, this is a nightmare. And it lives in a browser, so I could try and use some browser use agent or something. But even at that, the browser use agent, it either takes a lot of tokens, which means it's very expensive to run, and or it just takes ages, and it's not very efficient, because instead of allowing an AI to actually interact with this data, it has to look at a picture, try and figure it out. It's like the difference between you, say, giving AI just text, where it can just parse it instantly. Instead, you give it an image, where it has to then first do character recognition, pull out the characters you hope are correct, and then it will then go and do the processing. So you want to remove those kind of steps from automations. But anyway, the problem is I have 500 of these links to change inside of my Chrome browser. But you can fundamentally change this concept of working when you start to realize that my links are shortened from some link shortening software. This software has an API key. YouTube itself has an API as well. So there's an API, i.e. there's a computer that you can talk to and a way to do it to ask for data and to change data. Now for here, I can then, in the links, I can generate a link. So I can generate a new link. And on the YouTube API, I can get descriptions for all of my videos, and I can update descriptions for all of my videos. So then I can just ask Claude Code to go and change all of the links. And it can literally be as simple as change all of the links for every video, or add a new link at the top of every video that's unique. And it will go away and it will just ask you for this API key, and it'll ask you for this API, and it will just go away and do it. And that's actually exactly what we have running here on the left. And now it's even running it automatically. There we go. So it's going to run at 9 AM tomorrow. Automatically. I can shut this down and it will just do it. Because your computer is code. Everything is code. Everything's just ones and zeros. Code is just built on top of code. So in a simplified way, you have your zeros and ones. And zeros and ones on top of this, then you have essentially, this is super simplified, but we have like assembly language, which is like how do we move these ones and zeros around. Then you have layers and layers and layers until you have like Python. So ultimately, Python is just an abstraction away from these here. And so when you talk to Claude Code, for example, you're given it access to the internet, or the ability to talk to the internet. You also are given access to your PC, or you can or you may not. And then also, because it's a large language model, it can talk to you. And then also, it can do some coding as well. So you have this like holistic system now, where if you want anything done, you can get it to connect to some API endpoint, you can get it to connect to your files, change your files, delete files, etc. It's a language model so you can talk to it, and it's enhanced specifically for coding. So the takeaway I want you to have just from this short lesson is essentially that everything that you see that's digital is a 1 or a 0 or a combination of ones and zeros. And so everything can be changed, amended, manipulated. It's just up to you. But for Claude Code, you don't have to worry about the how. Let Claude worry about the how. You just think of the what. So the example here is this YouTube link stuff. I don't have to go and tell it to use this and use this initially. I can just say, I have a bunch of links. I want to change them because I have a new thing I'm promoting on my channel and I want it on all of my videos. Figure it out. And I'll go and figure it out like an employee. So from this, the next steps really are, one, you can create real automations that run daily, for example, this kind of thing. But I think, honestly, the most powerful way to leverage it right now for most people, I would say, is to use it as like a colleague, to use it like an admin or something. But yeah, so I hope this helps people reframe what Claude Code is really capable of. So how do you install Claude Code and actually get it up and running? So, super simple, literally get it done in 30 seconds. I'll show you how just in a second. But first, you're going to have to, or not have to, but I highly recommend using some sort of code editor. Now again, if you're brand new to this and you see something like this, don't worry, don't freak out, everything's alright. Basically, it's just that, see here, with code, when Claude Code is, and this is from the fundamentals or whatever it's going to be called, the lesson, but basically Claude Code on a fundamental level doesn't work within your kind of graphical operating system. Instead, it works in like a code way with your operating system, like with your Mac operating system or Windows 10 or whatever. And so basically here, what we can do is, with an operating system here, you'll be able to actually see it with your eye, right? You'll be able to see what's going on. Whereas with Terminal, something that I always found difficult with AI coding is that you actually can't really see what it's doing. It just kind of tells you. So So you're like, I have no idea what it's doing. So for example, we have here, I have my app running, which is going to be like a proprietary app for the school. Basically, I'm automating how I make YouTube videos. So it'll be called YouTuber Systems. Go check that module out. But basically here, at the bottom, this is me interacting with Claude Code down here. If I didn't have this code editor open, I wouldn't be able to see what it sees, what Claude Code can see. So on the left, you can see that I have all of my files, and then on the right here, you can see that I have the file names along the top, and then the bottom we have here our terminal. So this is where we're actually talking to it. But it just allows me to actually see the files that it's working from, and then go in and actually have a look, which you may not have to do, but it's always good because otherwise you're completely blind. So how do we install this? How do we set it up? To install Claude, all we have to do is come here, Claude Code overview, get started in 30 seconds. Literally just get a Claude subscription, right? Just go to Claude, sign up. And then here you have a couple of different ways. So you have native install, homebrew, or winget. Now, native install is basically you going to this URL here and saying, give me that software that you have. So this is Claude giving you the software. Homebrew is you saying, use, or like, hi brew, homebrew, please can you install Claude Code. Now what is homebrew? It's a package manager. So instead of you having to go from, say this is you and this is Claude, and every time you want an update you have to go to Claude and get the update, and Claude brings it back. And then say you have other software, so we'll just say Visual Studio Code, for example, you'll have to go and get that and bring it back. And then you have Python, because you're going to be running Python scripts, which you don't have to worry about. Claude Code can manage it, but you'd still have to go to Python and come back. Instead of all of this, you can have a big middleman here called a package manager. Package manager. And essentially, if you imagine each of these as a package, and then this just manages it. So this package manager will tell you when there are upgrades. You can literally just go and say like, hi package manager, update everything, and it'll go and do that. So to install like brew, literally just install brew. So let me see, install brew, Mac. This is a Mac thing. I'll tell you the Windows one in a minute. Basically just come along here, and then you're just gonna copy this and paste it directly into your terminal here. Come paste that in there, press enter, and then it will just install it. Now I already have it, so I don't need it. Let me get rid of that. But if you want to install it using winget, which is the Windows native version, you can go do it. It's the same thing. Native install, you can do this the same thing where you just copy that, come over here, paste it in, and then when you send that in, it will then go and install it and put it directly in here. Now I'm actually deleting this because I already have Claude and I don't want to mess it up because I have Claude running here. So that's how you install Claude Code, and then once you have it, all you have to do is you have to cd into your project, and then you have to just write Claude. So cd, what does that mean? It means change directory. So if you think of files in an operating system, you have a bunch of files, right? So it'll be obvious if you know. If you don't know, whatever. This is a folder, otherwise known as a directory. And obviously inside of each of these, there's layers of them, blah, 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 right? So basically cd just means like if you are here on your terminal, and then you say cd to this one, we'll call that directory 1, call this directory 2, cd to directory 2, you will then move into this one. But it's all relative from where you actually are. So you couldn't be, away over here somewhere in CD directory 2, because it wouldn't know where to go. Anyway, so we're here. If I do ls, I don't remember what the S stands for, but this is list. So this will show me everything that's in here. Now, let me clear. So just write clear. Maybe I need to do a terminal lesson. Let me know if I need that, or if you need that. So it's CD, and then I'll go to say documents. So that's from here. Documents, and now I'm inside documents. I could then make directory, so mkdir, and we'll just call this test. Then I'll cd into test. So now here I'm inside test. So I've gone from if we go something like this, I've gone from look, so this is like my home, into my documents, and then I've made a new folder, new directory. This is the same kind of thing for Windows. Doc, so I've made a new one called test, and inside here I'm going to open up Claude. So then we'll head over here, and then all you have to do is write Claude, and then it will now from here open it up inside of this workspace. So just trust this folder, and then boom, you're in. And now to connect up, /, oh, is it auth? /login, there we go. And then from here, you can either choose a Claude account with a subscription, Anthropic console account, or a third-party one. So I would highly recommend using the Claude account with subscription, because if you use the API one, it's going to charge you a fortune. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. So if from here you want to use your subscription, you just make sure you're highlighting that, press enter, and it will just take you to log in. Anthropic console account API, press enter, it will take you to log in. To use your Claude API key, you come here, took me ages to find it, platform.claude.com/dashboard, and from here you just go to API keys, and then you can just create one. So top right here, click create key, and that will be you. Now you can see here I've got a bunch of API keys. This one was one I was using recently. You can see it used $17. Now, for context, if I go to say Claude usage, we can talk more about this, maybe another time, go deeper, but basically with usage, you can see here what I've used. So you have plan usage limits, current session 3 hour 44, resets in 3 hour 44. It's a 5-hour session, and you have a limit per session. Then in a week, you have a limit, and mine is at 37%. You have Sonnet only as well. Then you have extra usage, so you can go and buy some extra usage if you're going to need it. And then I have this extra thing here. Whereas like if you use Sonnet 4.6, Opus 4.6, you get extra. Anyway, I'm on the max plan. If we go to billing, you can see I'm on the max plan, so you get 5 times more usage than Pro. For context, on Pro, I would lose out all the time. So like literally, I would be an hour into a chat that I would be expecting to take maybe 2 hours of working back and forth, and it'd be like, you can't do any more, and it would freak me out every time. Sometimes less than an hour as well. The free one, you get like 10 minutes. It's a nightmare, but Claude's probably the best AI. So anyway, if you get max, you'll never run out. And as I was saying, it was like $17. That was in one night of coding. Whereas from one night of coding, because I forgot I had API on, one night of coding using my actual usage from the max plan, and it's only got up about 4% versus costing me $18, which is mental. So that's Claude, that's how to set it up. We'll have some tips and tricks in another video as to how you can make the most of your usage and how you can make the most out of Claude as well. Oh, the terminal. Don't be scared, it is super easy. And to use it, you only really need to know a few commands, really, like making a new folder, moving into that folder, and also asking terminal, which folder am I in? It's really simple. So let me show you how to do it. On the left here, we have our terminal, and on the right hand side, we have downloads. Also, quick Easter egg, 50 here. This is a card that my partner and children, makes me feel old saying that, children got me for hitting 50k subscribers, which was just a couple of days ago. Anyway, so we have terminal here on the left, and we have the finder on the right hand side, so folders. Now, inside of here, terminal, you'll get PowerShell for Windows. For Mac, it's called terminal, and you'll also get Linux as well. Linux and Mac are basically the same. PowerShell is slightly different. Just ask AI, but it's the exact same principles. So, first of all, when you open it up, you'll be here. Now, this is your root directory. That's what this little squiggly line means. It's called a tilde, Tilde, like this. Basically just means, root. So, that's where we are right now, is this here. We're just at Lookburn, which would be the equivalent of me going to here, this location. This is where we are. So from here, you can see we can move into downloads. Now, to see inside of terminal, just do a thing called ls, which is list. Boom. You can see everything that's in here, right? All the same stuff that's in side of, if I drop that down, all the other stuff that's in here. So that's how you see things, ls. Now, we can do ls dash, it's like lthra, something like that, and you can see everything. Now, this here, don't worry about it, but it's just a little kind of hack if you want to find hidden files. So these dot something files are basically hidden files. But anyway, that's for another day. You can then write clear, and it'll clear everything up. Right, that's better. So again, we'll go ls, and we can see everything that's here. Now, I wanted to see if we can find downloads. Now, try to see through this. I can see that we have it, but it's a bit of a nightmare. So what we can do is, let's clear that. We can do ls, and then I think we can do this here. That's called a pipe. So basically we're getting the output of ls, and we're moving it into this next section, and we're going to say grep d. And now it's going to pull back everything that has a d in it. So ls is list, that gets that entire list of everything. Pipe means take this output and use it as an input into this function. And this one's called grep, which I can't remember why it's called grep, but it means search. And we're searching for the letter D. And this is what we get back. And we can see downloads here. So we can do cd, which means change directory, just like change folder. And we go cd space D. And then now we can press tab on our keyboard, and it will do something called type ahead, i.e. it will autofill the next section. So if we press tab, you can see that it's given us three options: desktop, documents, or downloads. If we press, say, O, we can then press tab again, and you can see that it's loaded the number of results to these two. And we could either press W to then get the whole type ahead of downloads, or we could press tab, and then if you press it like one more time, it will then go to the first, and tab again, it will go to the next, cd to downloads, enter. So we are now in downloads. So found out how to list everything, how to search for specific letters or things inside of it, and how to change directory, and of course how to clear your screen. So now we're in downloads. I want to make a new folder. So normally here I would go 3 dots, new folder. But from terminal it's super simple. Everything is called a directory, like all folders. They're not folders, they are directories. Which actually makes more sense, because if you think of how a computer operates, inside of your laptop you don't have little folders. You have essentially directories, like a text file that just says this is everything that we have, like a directory. So we go mkdir, which literally just means make directory, and then you give it a name. So we'll call this one, test. Make directory test, press enter, and now, there we go, it's just popped up. We have test. And what we could do here is we could ls to see everything, but whoa, I can't see anything there. So let's clear, and instead we will ls pipe, and we'll move the output of that ls into grep, and we'll search for test. And there we go, there's test. So now we want to move into test. We cd, change directory, into this test folder. So we're now inside of the test folder, like this here, on the exact same place here. Now, we can open up now Claude directly inside of this folder. So, first of all, actually, let me show you one more command before we do that, which is called pwd. Now this just tells you where you are. So pwd is saying that you are in users/lookburn/downloads/test. This is where we are right now, because sometimes this isn't the most descriptive. It's just saying you're in test. Cool. So we're inside of test. Now we're going to run Claude. Now from here, when running Claude, I always dangerously skip permissions. Because I hate having to allow it to do anything. I basically let it do kind of whatever it wants within reason. Sometimes that comes back to bite you when it'll like push a change that it makes, it will update your live website. Not ideal, but you can put different things in place to stop this happening. But generally, dangerously skip permissions makes life easier, especially if you're not doing anything that's too sensitive. So we'll skip Claude dangerously skip permissions. This dash dash, these are often called flags. So you'll have like that dash dash, and then you can also do like dash dash, I think it's resume, and then the session ID, whatever it's called. And another hack here is if you hold Option and press back, you can remove the entire chunk. So if I press back, you see it just deletes one letter at a time. If I hold Option, it will remove the entire chunk. And in the same way, you can move backwards and forwards with your arrows here. So we can move backwards and forwards just like this, normal, or hold Option and we can go between chunks like this. I think also does Command. Nope, that's the wrong one. Oops. And then the other last one is up and down. So these can take you through all of your recent commands, which can be really handy. So I hate having to type this out. So normally I just keep going up until I find the last time that I've done it. Here's an example here. And then I could just hold Option and go left arrow. So, oops, to get back here, delete that. Then hold Option and delete this resume session. And boom. So now we're going to run Claude with this in here. And then it'll open it up. And so now if I say to Claude, make me a hello world HTML site, HTML just being website, now you'll see that it'll make it directly inside of this folder. Boom. And there you go. Super easy. Now I'll kind of like quick one here. You can either exit with /exit or Control C again. See, there we go, I'm out. Then you can resume the session with that. But also to make files like this, if you want on your own, which you don't have to, just like a little bonus thing, is we can do touch. Touch makes a file, so I can do touch hi.txt, and then it will make that file there. So you can see the power of using this. You don't have to do your right clicking and all this stuff. Once you get used to using the terminal, life is so much easier. And for context, literally all I ever use now that I have Claude Code is change directory, list, grep, and make directory, and clear, and then Claude, and that's it. So I hope this beginner's intro to terminal helps you. If you need me, if you need any help, of course, DM me as usual, comment in the community, and use AI to help you along the way. So we've covered what is Visual Studio Code and why you would need it. Let's go and download it. So just go to code.visualstudio.com, click download, and quickly, if you don't know what it is, you haven't watched other videos, which is fine, I get it. Basically, Claude Code works from your terminal, which is this thing here. Now when it's working away, you don't know what it's doing. You can't see anything. So you download this here, Visual Studio Code, which allows you to see the files that it's actually working on, which is amazing. It's a code editor. I would use it, when I was at uni and in my day-to-day job previously when I was a cloud engineer. So anyway, you download this here, and then once you download it, just open it up, and it'll be VS Code. I suppose I can just open mine here, and we'll open a fresh one. We'll go new window, and this will be what you are met with. And there we go. So just an idea, I need to teach you Git. I'll make a video on that. But basically on the left hand side here, we have a bunch of stuff. All you're really concerned about is this top one, folders. So this is which folder you have open. So if we open a folder, let's go and see. We'll go to documents. I have this test folder, that's fine. Let's open that up. And then you just, yes, I trust the authors, because we're the authors. So you have this test one opened up, and then I've got a bunch of stuff down the left. I'll tell you what they are briefly, but it doesn't really matter. On the left, you have search. So this is where you can search stuff in files. We have source control. This is basically for GitHub and repos. We'll talk about that in another video, but essentially what it allows you to do is update code, let Claude Code update stuff without it actually affecting what's in production, say. So you can add features to a website without having to worry about the main website getting affected. And if you make a feature that's awful and everyone hates it, you can always roll back, and that's kind of using Git. Run and debug, I've never used that in my life. Remote Explorer, I've actually never used that in my life either. Extensions, these are really just to make your code look a bit nicer, generally. So for here, if you're writing code in Python, you can search Python, and then you can install the little Python extension, and it will make sure that it's looking good, whichever one's the real one here, 13 million, maybe that one. And then also, but now with extensions with AI, is you can actually get, like here for example, Claude Code for VS Code, and this will then, when you install it, it'll allow you to use Claude Code inside here. So you can see, like on the right hand side, I don't know if this is, there we go, oops. We have here my little Claude Code agent, and this is directly inside of VS Code. So you could actually use this if you're, wanting to use something less scarily technical than the terminal down here. But I say, honestly, familiarise yourself with terminal. It's much easier than you think. So you can install this if you want, and then we'll come down. What else do we have here? Testing. Don't worry about that one. You should worry about it, but I've never used it before. Don't know if that's good or bad. I have Gemini Code, which is basically the same thing as Claude. This thing here for containers and images. This is for Docker. Quick TLDR on Docker. Basically, you used to send code to people, and then they would run it and they say, it doesn't work. Why does it work on my machine? And you would say, oh, but it works on mine. Well, Docker fixes that problem because you make it a certain way in a Docker file, where if anyone has Docker installed on their computer, they will be able to use it. And it kind of lets Docker, kind of in a way, make like this operating system that it runs inside of, like a mini operating system. So then when you give it to someone else, it will run in this mini operating system, often called like an image. Kind of. Then I have a couple other things here, but they're nothing to worry about. RuCode is pretty cool, AI coding tool, but honestly, when you're using Claude Code, you don't need anything else. So we can make new files here, up top. Let's call this skibberbup.py. So your Python file. Then we can also make folders. Call this skibberbup, and then we can drag that in here and move, and there we go. And so what we can do in here, so we go to terminal, do new terminal. This will open up our terminal down the bottom, and from here we can actually just write, say, Claude, and then Claude will start working inside of here. Boom. So there we go. And from here, what we can just say is, like, make me a simple Python hello world, and run it in ASCII art. Now, ASCII art, if you don't know, is basically when you can make pictures using letters. You'll see what I mean in a minute. But something simple here, and you can see that it's starting to write some code. There's the ASCII art here. So this is red here, means this is what it used to be. And then green here, as this is what they're proposing as the new change. You see that's denoted as well by the arrow. And it's in this hello.py file. So we can see that Claude says, do you want to make this edit? And we'll just say yes. But we can also say yes, allow all edits during this session. So let it edit whichever files it wants in this directory. And there we go. So it has created it and it has run it. Oh no, it's just telling me that it's written it. Oh, there we go, right. And then I'll say yes, and don't ask again for Python 3 commands. Now you'll probably see here is that it's really annoying that it keeps asking, am I allowed to write stuff? And there we go, it's created that file. Boom. So you can see how simple that is. But it keeps asking me how to write stuff. A nice tip/trick here, or you can just Control-C, that will delete essentially the program that you're on. So it will stop it inside the terminal. But from here, what you can do is instead you can write Claude -- dangerously skip permissions. And then what this will do now is it will bypass all permissions. So now if I was to say the exact same thing, it wouldn't ask me anything. It would just go and it would do it. run init to create Claude.md file. We'll cover that in the next one. So there you go. You have VS Code up and running. You have Claude Code inside of it running. You're basically good to go now. Anything else is just tips and tricks to make it work better. But from here, you can just give it your SaaS idea and let it go and work away. So GitHub, what is it? Well, I was just talking about it a moment ago from a Visual Studio Code perspective. Basically, I have a bunch of code here, and if like this strike through means that I've deleted the file, or well, actually Claude Code deleted the file. So if I delete a file, or if I come in and I edit a file, what happens? Well, the problem is, of course, if you're running critical automations on your computer or production code, so code comes in, 3 areas really, dev, test, and prod. Dev is like, we can change stuff willy-nilly all day long. Test, does it look good? And prod, this is the one everyone sees, right? So you have, let me do a better little drawing here. And so here, dev, test, prod, these are just like the most basic that you get. Now, prod here is viewable to the whole world. So if you make a change in devs, like some new feature, you only want it to impact this dev environment. Now, we'll talk more about environments maybe in another one if you want to know more about it. But basically, we have dev here. You want things to change only to affect here. Now, a way to bring this around, right, and also if something in prod doesn't work like it used to, you can revert back, is the way you can implement this is using something called version control. Now, version control is essentially like revision history, whatever you want to call it. So this is one of the key features here is version control. I mean, it essentially is the key feature. And then the other one is repository. So repository, essentially meaning that it's somewhere where you can store all your code. Because here, if you were hosting this somewhere, so www.whatever.com, this is going to have to be run on a computer somewhere. So either it runs on your computer or somewhere in the cloud, right? Or a provider's, maybe a data center. Now, these files that are on here are your code files. Now, if you're wanting to have these code files accessible 24/7 and you want a backup copy to make sure they're all right, blah, 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 you need to store them somewhere. So GitHub is the kind of gold standard for where people are storing their code. So we have here, this is my homepage. Here's an example repository. So, oh man, how long ago was this? Last year. Yeah, probably a year and a bit ago maybe. Yeah, probably about a year ago. I made my first like actual AI application, which was a README generator app. Now, you can see here if we come to branches up the top, we have 3 branches. We have main, beta 2, and beta. So what is going on here in regards to these? So if we have main, think of main as essentially our prod in this instance. So this is our main one. So we have prod. This is basically main. This is not exactly how it works in the real world with dev, test, and prod necessarily, because normally you'd have a prod, or you'd have a main for dev, a main for test, a main for prod. But in essence, for your little projects at home, this is perfect. So prod is basically main. This is production. So this is your main branch. Think of it like this. Here, that's your tree trunk. And then you have your other ones. So I had beta, and I had beta 2. Now these could just be, let's just call it dev and test. Now, this is main chunk here. When I'm going to do, say, beta and beta 2, we could have like beta coming off here, beta 2 coming off here, so beta 2, main. And basically these take an entire copy of this file base at this point in time, and then it amends it, it changes it, it does stuff to it. And then when you're done, you'll commit it, merge it, or commit it, push it, merge it back to main, and then main will now have this plus the changes. And then beta 2, kind of same thing, right? Now obviously you can see one problem here, and it's something that they're trying to fix. I think agent teams may fix it, but basically as if you had a branch here and a branch here, and then they come in like this. So B2, same B3, because B3 has, taken a copy of the code. They've basically taken this same copy of the code, but then they've made their own amendments to it. So when they try to merge it, it could be a clash or a conflict, it's called, between say B2 and B3, where they've both changed the same file, right? Which could be a big problem. But this is the kind of standard structure of what they call branching. So this is a version control. How it works really is through branching. Now we can see here then that you can create new branches and stuff, but we're going to let Claude Code, sorry, not Git. We're going to let Claude Code handle Git. So you don't have to know it much, but you have to understand roughly what's happening here. So you can see that these are all the files we have, and they're all in folders and stuff, blah blah blah. Now we also maybe briefly touch as well on this process here. So basically you would do something like new branch, and this would then break you off. So your new branch, that number one, this would be new branch. You then, as you're doing changes, you would then commit these changes. Now committing these changes means essentially that you're like saying these are real changes that we're going to keep. So you have new branch, then you commit, and then we're going to push, and basically then the fourth one would be merge. So let me add that in here. 4 would be merge, 3 would be push. Because basically you're doing then merge. Basically you're saying new branch is we're going to do a change. Commit is we've done some stuff, save it. Push is like let's push this up into GitHub now. This is really what we're going to keep, what we're going to do. Because local commits, you can roll back on these commits. So you can commit something and then go, actually, you know what, I don't want to even commit that to push it up. And then merge is like, because you can run off of this branch. This branch could, in a sense, become its own like mini main branch, where then you could branch off other ones. So you can push directly up to this here, but then merge brings it back into the real main, and then it's done, right? So that's the kind of process. Claude will or should do it, but this is just so that you understand roughly what it's supposed to do. And obviously GitHub is just a place for you to store stuff. So let's go up and running with how you can actually leverage this. So to actually install Git and get this up and running, you can come here to github.com, and then there's an install Git guide on it, which is pretty long. But GitHub essentially is the company which is owned by Microsoft, where you go to their website, upload your code, and you can get private repos, by the way. That's this here, don't worry. Private and public. So you can share your code with people, you can keep it private. But basically here, you have your private repo, and you are able to leverage this Git framework. Now, for Git, this is much easier to use if you just come to git-scm.com/install. And then I'm using Mac. You can go to Linux or Windows, whichever you're using. And from here, I'm using Homebrew, as I'd said before, with using even Claude Code. Is use Homebrew, brew, install Git, and then that's you good to go. And now Claude Code will be able to actually leverage Git. Now, for you to create a new repo to actually use Git, you need to come, sign up, and then you go new repository. And then from here, you can give it a name. So just call it Claude Test, that's fine. That's already taken by me. Let's do Claude Test 2. Give it a description if you want. There's a visibility, so you can do public or private, as I was saying. Public is fine for stuff if you want people to see it. Private if you don't want people to see it. Now, one side note is that even in your repos, you'll have API keys that might come up. You do not want API keys inside your code. Definitely not. And I'll talk about Git guarding, which is something we can use that tells you if it does happen. Like it happened to me with Claude Code yesterday, and Git guarding told me. But luckily, it was a private repo, so no one could see anyway. Now from here, you can also add like a readme if you want, which is basically the initial file you see when you open up a repository, and it's like, this is what the repo is about, this is what we do, blah, blah, blah. You can start with a template, but I don't have any. I've never used that before. I've never really added a license, but you can add these licenses. The ones that I'm aware of are Apache and MIT. These are essentially open source libraries, licenses, meaning that you're saying your code, people can just go and use it if they want. So that's for public, really. And add.getignore. So this would be files where basically if you put a dot before a file, Git doesn't see it because it allows you to then pass in passwords and stuff by using a dot file. So let me show you like a .env file. So basically inside of your repository, you'll have like a .env, or nowadays with MCP servers, which we'll get to, you have .mcp.json, and these here, Git can't see them, which is good because then it means it can't bring your passwords up into GitHub here. But we'll just leave that just now because it's asking actually about a git ignore. And then all you have to do is click create repository, and then it will go and it will make this repo. Now from here you can actually add files directly in, so click add file, create new file, or upload files, or code, and then you can actually clone this repo, which is what we're going to do. So HTTPS, that's fine. You basically just come and copy that, and if we go now to Claude Code, so we're here, we'll say move this all into this repo. I'll paste that in. Here it's going to move all of these files in, so yes push or don't push, we'll go yes push, push them up, because it has that, as you see, it does the initial commits. Then the push, it's got an error here, but that's fine, it's going to go and do the stuff that I'm not going to have to teach you because we don't need to know it for Claude Code to work. There you go, all done, files have been pushed up. So if we come over here now and we'll refresh, you can see that we now have our files. We have Claude test 2, we have a readme file, which is that one there, just nothing really. We have hello.py, this is our ASCII art, and then we have this folder. Now when we're going to go and do amendments now or any functionality, we would say, make a branch and go do that. Generally Claude should know, but it's good to know. But again, we can actually put this in a Claude file that we can use, which we'll talk about in another lesson. But that's how you install Git and actually use it. MCP servers, what are they? Are they scary? No, they're really helpful. So MCP servers, I'll give you an example which will, give you the idea of what these do. So here I have VS Code open, I have a terminal at the bottom. We're using Claude Code to help build out this app. Now this application, I want it to be hosted somewhere, right? So we have our code locally, and we want this code to be running somewhere so that we can access it at, not that, but, just imagine this as a placeholder, at a website. So to do this, we are required to actually upload this somewhere. Now, previously I was a cloud engineer, so I would have normally moved this to Azure or AWS or something like this, right? But instead, what we're going to do is we're going to leverage some of the better suited options for beginners and for, non-enterprises, which are things like Render, like DigitalOcean, and also like Netlify. Netlify is a really good one because it's free. Render is free as well, but it like stops them if you're not using them, which is annoying. So you couldn't just hit this URL at any time. Whereas with Netlify you could. So and DigitalOcean is a little bit more complex. But anyway, so you have these here. Now if you were to go and get this code and try to upload them, you could go to say Netlify here, and you can just open that up, and you can just drag and drop your thing in once you log in. Let me log in. From here, we could just add a new project, and I know you're starting to probably go, whoa, what's going on here, look. And that's the point, is that this becomes really quite like, OMG, what's going on? Well, we can actually get Claude Code to just do this automatically. So if we search MCP Netlify, what this will allow us to do is to actually use, literally all you have to give it is this. Give it this to your Claude code. You don't even have to add it into the specific file. Just tell Claude about it, and it will go and sort it out for you. So instead of me having to go to Netlify and do it myself, so instead of having to be me, oops, oh no, what have I done? Oh. Well, anyway, if between me and Netlify, instead of having to do that, there we go, we're back. Let me use my pen again. Woo. You can now get Claude to do it instead. So why get me to do it when I can get Claude to do it? Sometimes Claude will be cheeky and be like, you need to go do this manually. But every time I always tell him back, hey, unless it's impossible for you to do, I don't want to bother. Because what it allows it to do, this MCP, and I'll show you how to do it in a second, is basically have Claude here, and say we have Netlify here. Netlify. Basically, it allows Claude to go and communicate and leverage Netlify via the endpoints that it exposes to Claude. What does that mean? Well, basically, Netlify will have things like, deploy. And it'll have other functions like make, project, things like this. And then what it'll allow it to do is that Claude will then go, right, I want to deploy stuff, and you've said I should use Netlify. Or maybe you can ask Claude, you can say, Claude, what should we use? And it will tell you, and then you can go and get it. But then it'll go, right, so we need to make a new project. So it'll go here and make the new project. Then it'll say, oh, well, we need to deploy it. It'll go here and it'll deploy it. All along this chain so that you don't have to do anything. And the way that this works is it's as simple as you can copy this, come on over to Claude, and you can say, set up this MCP, what info do you need? And I think it will be that you need an API key, but essentially it will set it all up for you. Look, this is me. Best sister ever. That's me. So here you can see it's telling me, right, go and get this token, and I'll go and get that token, blah, 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 and then paste it in here, and it'll be up and running. Because you can see here, once you give me the token, I'll run this. So you don't even have to worry about it. And then what it does is it will go and create this mcp.json here. I guess I'll need to blur this out on screen. I'll go and change my stuff. But basically here you can then see we have MCP servers, and I have Supabase, Render, and Netlify. Supabase is a database provider. Database is just a place to store stuff, store information that's efficient to get back. Render is where I'm hosting my endpoints, so basically functions that does stuff. And Netlify is where I'm hosting my website, which is just the pages, the HTML pages. And it's the easiest and cheapest way to do this, because Supabase, free, Netlify, free, and Render, I can host that for $7 a month. So, perfect. But basically here you can see that it sets these up for you without you having to come in and modify the JSON, because each provider, so like this is Claude Code we're talking about, if we were using another provider somewhere else, they sometimes want the MCP JSONs slightly differently. And then if you do one typo and it's all wrong, so just let Claude Code go and do it for you is my advice. So that will then set you up and you can use that. Now, MCP servers here, this infrastructure as an MCP service is mental. But there's a bunch, so you can get like MCP servers, for example, let's see, MCP servers for posting to LinkedIn. You can get MCP servers for creating thumbnails, for example. So as I was saying to you before, is if you fundamentally reframe how you look at code and how you look at computers as like, oh, the little things where you have to, click a mouse. Maybe not a mouse, really, these days, but you have to click a mouse. Instead, now it's like, oh, everything is ones and zeros, and we can just modify the ones and zeros as we want. And instead of us having to go and do it, which is a nightmare, trust me, I got a degree in computer science. It's good, but it's not the easiest, funnest thing in the world. we can get AI to do it. Ho, ho, ho. And I'm not saying, by the way, that AI is going to take over the world and developers are never going to be needed ever again. But what I am saying is that a normal person can now do cool stuff like build SaaS products. They can do stuff like build games. They can create automations. All of these things, and the learning curve has just gone from, whatever, let's just say this, to, you now start here. And, you're still going to have to go up here, but you're starting here now. And sometimes for some products, you only really have to get to here, and then, you're live, you've made some money, and it's a winner. So for here, whereas that equivalent for this one is like here, So that's MCP servers. Any questions, as always, just reach out and let me know. So, CLAUDE.md, what is it and do you need it? Well, CLAUDE.md is something that I didn't use for ages but will never not use now. So, when you first use Claude Code, you'll be in this like magical position where as you use it, so we'll say Claude here, as you use it, you'll be like, this is amazing, it's getting everything right. Then you'll cancel the session. You'll restart your laptop, whatever it may be. And then you'll open up a new Claude Code and you'll ask him something and you'll get the wrong answer. Or it just seems like it's slower than usual to start up, etc. The problem here is that you have given this Claude increasing context as you've told it stuff, said I don't like this, change that. This Claude has no context. So how do we take the context from here and pass it into the next one? Well, I actually started trying to do that by telling it to create all of these like random markdown files that it's, and I was saying create ones that were about like things to remember, things I should teach other people on YouTube, on school, blah, blah, blah. And it was a nightmare. And then it dawned on me. Stumbled across Claude.md, which does this exact thing, which essentially extracts this context into this Claude.md. And then every single time you open a new Claude instance like this, it will go and it will get this context. And it will get this context because it's inside of your repository or your folder, right? So we have here like let me shut these down, blah, blah, blah. So basically, this is my YouTube Systems repo. This is all the code I have. I don't know why I have so much stuff. I literally told it to clean it up, and it said it did clean it up. It's fake news. But in any case, it's him that reads it, not me. So it's created this Claude.md file, and the way that it's done it, which is really cool, is because whenever I'm going to teach this kind of stuff, I always think, I'm going to have to learn a bunch and teach it and like think it and going to need to know all of it. Like prompt engineering and stuff, there's some that you should remember, but most of the time, just use AI. And that's what I've done here. So I've just asked, could any of my .md files be moved into a Claude.md file? I know nothing about it. And then it was like, Claude's a special file that Claude Code automatically reads at the start of every session. It's like giving it a briefing document. So then it goes and it creates this here, which is, let me move this down a little bit. This here is the Claude .md file that it's created, which has a project overview, it has a project structure, things that we're going to do, things that we are doing, how to work with this project, critical files, etc., etc., right? So you can do this by just asking it to create one at the end maybe of your session, or what you can do as well, which is cool, is that when you start a new repo, you can just do /init. Where am I going here? So you'll maybe hear this in the kind of coding space init, which is initialize. And if you do /init straight after you go into Claude, it will then initialize a Claude.md file by going and reading the repo that you're in. Say it's full of stuff. It will then go and read that, and it will create some Claude.md file that it can then use going forward. Now, the benefits of this here, of course, are the context, but also something that people don't consider is token usage. So for tokens, basically you have a set usage, whatever it is, say 100%, which is call it 100 tokens, and then say it uses 1% just to understand your massive repo, right? 1%. Well, if you're going to close and open a bunch, suddenly you can see that this is going to start adding up really fast. Whereas if it takes, 0.1% to read the Claude.md file and get most of the understanding, then suddenly now, you've reduced the amount of tokens you're going to burn through, which means reduced API cost, of course, and just reduced usage for your Claude subscription, which means you can do more Claude coding. So there you go, that's Claude.md. Get using it. One thing to note is that Claude.md doesn't update automatically. So, for example, I kept running into an issue and I'd keep telling it, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, and it wouldn't change it. So you'd have to keep that updated in Claude.md. But I've added a little thing here, which I'll share below, which is recent learnings and quick fixes. Use /remember and then something, and it will remember that by adding it into this Claude.md. So that's like one of its rules. So let's test this out now. So I'll say something like remember. Oops. So we'll say something here like remember. Let's see. So we'll say something simple here like remember whenever I say infra, I mean our render Superbase netlify stack. And let's see. So it should go in here and update our Claude.md. There we go. Boom. So terminology, when a user says infra, I'm impressed by that. They mean the full stack, blah, blah, blah. So just now whenever I'm like, how's the infra looking? Boom, it will know. And so this is what we can then do, is just have something as simple as that and use that /remember to update Claude.md. Also good practice, I think, is at the end of any session or at the end of any project, definitely, but any session, just say, update Claude.md within the learnings from this session. Because often as well it compacts chats, so it only has a set limit for context, say, I think it's like 200,000, might be wrong. But basically of tokens, so when you start reaching like 190,000, which is easily doable when you're trying to, get a bunch of files and it's a big long chat, it will then compress it and it might lose some of that. So periodically, every hour, maybe, I don't know, something. Get your Claude.md to update. So the Claude app, how do you get it? Basically, the Claude app, just go to Claude.ai and on the bottom left, go to you and then download Cowork. And it is literally that simple. You'll then download it, open it up, and boom, you'll have the application here. Now you'll see the application is broken up into 3 portions: chat, Cowork, and code. So chat is just like normal. You just chat away here and boom, you're sorted. Do a little ghosty if you don't want anyone to remember your chat. Except maybe Claude. I don't know about that. And then we have Cowork. Cowork, this is the one I'll show you in a moment. Basically, Cowork allows you to let Claude interact with your actual computer. So think about it like Claude Code, but they're trying to rebrand it as something that you can use with your computer. So think about it for deleting files, changing files, analysing data on local files, all that kind of stuff, right? So as you can see, optimise my week, organise my screenshots, find insights in my files, etc. If you want me to know more about Cowork, extra modules in here, just let me know. Final one is Claude Code. This is what we've been showing the whole time, which is basically, we now have Claude Code, but instead of having it in some terminal interface, like this here, instead of that, we have a nice little interface that we can use. Just remember though, that depending on your resources, I actually don't know how much this takes up, but terminal is basically 0. Like this doesn't take up much, versus an entire Claude application, this probably takes a lot more. And something as well when you're using these types of applications here, mainly code, but then also their extension on Chrome, which I'll show you in a minute, is that you have this here where you can ask for approval, code immediately, plan before doing stuff. I like to just go ahead and just do it first try, let it do it, because otherwise, what's actually the point in doing all this AI stuff if I need to be in charge all the time? I say that kind of half jokingly. So, Cowork, this is the big one. How do we use Cowork? Well, I find personally that the thing that... Let's think about it under the hood first. I know that I always break out to these Excalidrats, but it's just the way I think. It's the most important part of it all, which is basically, you have Claude, right? Claude is an AI. And this Claude AI has chat, it has Cowork, and it has code. Now, fundamentally, what's the difference here? Well, fundamentally, probably code has some system prompt. So when you are sending some messages, it has some system prompt which gives it more context about coding. When you have this one, it's more system prompt, probably about being more of a virtual assistant or something. In the chat, this one is obviously going to be more like, a helper. So these are probably what's happening under the hood, but Claude don't let you know anything. So these are just my assumptions. If I remove my assumptions, and just look at them fundamentally, what it appears to me is that Claude Code is basically Claude in the terminal. Claude Chat is just like, Chat GPT. And Cowork Cowork is basically Claude Code that has a native integration, and this might be, I've not used it enough to understand, but Cowork seems to have terminal plus native integration, which allows it to use Chrome, and that's the real benefit that I see. But other than that, it's really just Claude Code with a kind of nice wrapper around it. That's how I can see it, at least. So, how do we actually leverage these? Well, something that will be, gaining your attention here, probably, I think it's cool, is this Chrome thing. So, first of all, if you're going to go and use Claude Cowork, you need to go and get the Claude for Chrome extension. Now, this here. Now, you can see, you can change the models, you can clear the chat. What can do here? Convert this to a task, cool. Because I haven't used this much, I've only let Claude Cowork use it for me. Ask before acting or act without asking. Just do it without asking. Why not? Why not? So basically, let me delete that. We can see that if we go here, so this is a skill community that I was gonna run, that if we open this here, instead, by the way, all of this stuff's just going to be inside of the main community, which you're in now. I thought, why am I going to give less value somewhere else to make it a more niche? I'll just give you everything here, and then we'll see what happens. So basically, let me go to act to asking, and I'll just say, create a new course called Claude Code. Give it a funny name, funny description. Boom. So now we can let it go away, and as you can see, it's highlights at the top the tab that it's on, and then it's starting to actually use the screen, which you can tell by the orange around it. It's opened up this course. It now has taken a screenshot, as you can see. It's trying to read the page, puts in Claude Code, and then it will give it a description. That description, it should notice it's too long. Let's see if it does. Create a new course with form submission. There you go. It does know that, so it's trimmed it down, and now it can add it in. I'm actually well impressed. I'm well impressed. So, and we can just stop at any time given that, and boom, there we go. It's created it, which is amazing. So, this here is all done inside the browser. Now, the cool thing here is that instead of doing this in the browser, we can do this directly from Cowork. So, of course, we could do organize my files, which then does all of this stuff, and then we can click work in a folder. We can go to, say, where's mine? Documents, click documents. And then here it could go away and do all of this, right? It could go and get all the screenshots, remove them, delete them, whatever. But the cool thing I think is that you can use like chat to come up with some like M markdown file. Markdown is just a formatting standard. Let me give you a quick, see if it shows you in a nice image. So basically it's just a formatting standard where you have some stuff on one side and you can see that it kind of renders like this. Wait, a better example is this here. So you have hashtags which then render into titles and stuff, blah blah blah. So you create Markdown because Markdown is the most consistent formatting that you can like transfer, so you can just copy and paste it into an AI. But basically here anyway is that you have you can create some Markdown for say a school community, and then you can go into Cowork and paste it in here and say go and make this. And this is what I done to create this YouTuber systems one. Unfortunately I hadn't fleshed out the ideas quite enough. I mean, I had gone back and forth for ages trying to get this all the way I wanted it. And then I just said to it, I was like, right, go away and implement it. And then it just goes away and it uses this exact same system. You just don't see that. So you get this same thing where the screen goes orange. Let's see if we can get it to work right now, actually. We'll see. Create a new lesson on Claude.md. Let's see what it does. So it should go away, and up the top right here, it will come up with some like tasks in progress that it wants to do. Because it first starts up this kind of like system or workspace that it's in. It will then think to itself, right, what steps do I actually need to take? And you can see here. So it has a progress. If you're doing multiple things, so for example, mine had an entire markdown thing where I was like, do this, 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 this. Oh wait, hold on, it's popped open in the wrong thing here. There we go. It's on the wrong screen. But basically, yeah, it can bring up a bunch of progress depending on the tasks. So it's going too fast. It's now showing what to do here. I think something important to know is that it's seeing your screen. So it's taking screenshots, I think, and sending them back to Claude for Claude to check them out and bring them back. That's generally how these browser agents work. Now the problem with that is if you have sensitive information here, you know, then just be wary that it may go get it. So we have here the browser working. If I go streamline like this, I wonder if it sends a dodgy screenshot. Don't know, let's see. So we have on this side here Cowork, and on this side here we have our browser agent. Let's open them up so that they fit better. That's nicer. Keep me over here. So what should the new lesson be about? About Claude AI. Let's just do, so where should it go? Let's do a Claude Code module. Boom. And the thing here is you're probably looking at this thinking, cool, I'm going to start a new course now and I'm just going to let AI decide it. Which you could do, but I think something fundamental that people don't realise is that products and services like this are representations of the people who build them. And so it's going to feel soulless if you're going to get someone else to do it, you know, like going to get an AI to do it. That's why I recommend you talk to the AI and come up with a structure, come up with the content properly, proof it, make sure it looks and sounds good, and then let AI go and do the boring stuff like click and add a new page, blah blah blah. Right, so here he's lost because he's stuck inside the classrooms. But if I click here, he'll then be able to see now that we're inside of the thing here. There we go. I scroll down. Let me just open it up wide because I'm worried that he's getting screenshots of it being tiny. So there we go. I'll make this one smaller. Or I suppose bigger so you can see this side here. So there we go. We have the progress, create a new module, add the lesson, fill the lesson, blah blah blah. Work in folder, so if you're in documents or whatever, because you could have, say, your entire course as files inside of your documents folder, and they could just say use these files, and you know. And then the connectors for the context here, we have this Claude and Chrome, which is the one I was talking about. So there we go. It's opened up Claude here. Make this tiny. And it's creating a new page, as you can see. I mean, this is just mind-blowing stuff. And then it will go and actually try to create the page. Now something, it's not 100% perfect, it's still in research preview as it says, so sometimes it does like not know where the title is and stuff, but because it's open here, if you're doing stuff in the other screen, you can either just let it do its thing, and that will just maybe take ages to figure out what it's doing, but be aware, Cowork will use a bunch of tokens, so your usage is that it will come here. You can always come and click stuff too, so if you can see it's taking ages to find the save button or the publish toggle, because these kind of things can be hard for it to find, as you can come over and save on its behalf. But there you go, you can see the power here of Claude Cowork. It is amazing. Claude Code on the web. So basically a problem that you will run into when you're trying to run Claude Code locally is that if you switch your computer off, it's gone. So here, for example, when I've been wanting to run stuff overnight, because sometimes I'll say to it, keep doing stuff until it's impossible for you to move forward without communicating to me. And you'll see here, right, worked for 2 minutes. But let me scroll up. There was one last night. There's 4 minutes where it worked for 22 minutes, which was, a bunch of time. But the problem here is that I had to then leave my laptop on overnight, even though it just was going to run for 5 minutes, 20 minutes. Well, Claude Code fixes this problem, because what we can do instead, although be wary here, because Claude Code on the web is research preview, so that's why you see it says find a small to do in the code base and do it. But anyway, we can come here and we can select a repo. Now if you don't have the repo here that you want, you can install Claude GitHub app, install app. It will go to GitHub, you'll log in, verify your identity, and then, because you have to do this auth, that drives me mental, but basically you have to then go and install Claude, and then once you have it, you'll now be able to see all of your repositories in here. So for example, if we select a repo, it's the same by the way here and here. Look at a little Claude bot. So here we can go down and we'll go to just one of them, Bible verse, that's fine, and we'll say something like find a bug and fix it. Boom. And now this will go away and work, and we don't have to actually have our resources being used. The idea here is that it's using my cloud environment, which they provide. So let's open up settings. You can see here, here's the name, here's the network access, so you can make it completely blocked. Environment variables, so this is how you pass in your API keys, things like that. But there you go, you can see that it's exploring the code base, blah blah blah. Let me copy this just for a proof of concept. If I shut this down, then we'll open it up here on another page. You can see that it's still running away. Versus if I shut down this here, that's it, gone. And if I didn't save stuff, tough. So definitely consider using Claude Code in the cloud, especially for, like bugs and stuff that you want to leave on overnight. Now, because it is research preview though, I wouldn't fully rely on it as your main way, but if you want to run some stuff overnight, it's worth looking into. So you'll be hearing about Claude skills everywhere. What the heck is this skill? Well, essentially, it allows you to specialize Claude, reduce repetition, and compose capabilities. What does that actually mean in real life? And don't worry, I'm actually using Claude Code here right now, so I can come along and show you just in a sec. But before we do that, let me just talk you through kind of the rationale. So basically, I have my application, and now my application has a bunch of code, and that code, I deploy it using Claude Code, so it does it automatically onto some website, right? Now, I want to continually check, is this website looking healthy? So, actually it ends up, I have a couple of different websites for different parts of the application. So I have a database, I have like part for the functionality, and I have basically the UI that you can see. Now I want to see if all of these are working. So if I ask Claude and say, is the infrastructure working, Claude has to then go away and actually think, right, what is Luke asking here? He's asking about infrastructure. What is infrastructure? Let me go and see what infrastructure he has. Now, you can of course keep this in like your Claude.md to some, in some way, but it's better for you to have a skill which is literally the skill of check infra. And then all you have to do is run check infra and it will go away and do it for you. So it's kind of like a prompt placeholder. So to show you how this actually works and looks, and for context, I didn't make these skills. I got Claude to make them for me. So if we scroll up here, we can see they actually made them wrong for me, which is funny. But basically here I said, write an example skill.md file that's relevant for our work here in this repository. And blah, 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 and then it's created them. And so I said, is there any point? And it said, yes, if you want to use them often, you want consistency, you value documentation, and you work in this project across multiple sessions. But maybe not if you just want to say what you want each time and it's pretty flexible. So what do these actually look like? Well, inside of your Claude folder, which is a .claude folder, so beware dot means that Git doesn't pick it up. So if you completely delete everything locally, I think that makes you lose your skills files. So, you want to keep them somewhere. So inside of skills here, we have check infra, ship, and test packaging. So these are main functionalities that I've been doing recently. And inside of each skill, so this is your / check infra, would run it, which we'll show you in a minute. But inside of each of these, you have your skill.md, which is the skill of this. So if we see here, let's scroll down, we can see this is the skill. So basically, oops, don't mind that. Basically, I have the name of it, usage, some details about how you can, this is with details, this is a flag, so you can get more details. What it actually does, so as I was saying, we have multiple points for the infrastructure. So here we can define exactly these points. Here's the back end, here's the database, here's the front end. And it will actually go away and do that. And then we have the expected output, which we have because this is what we've found works. And of course you can write these on your own, but don't bother. Get AI to help you, honestly. And the way you can then invoke these skills, so if we go here, I'll open up a new terminal. By the way, for context, if you ever want to open up a new terminal, plus, boom, there we go. And then you write Claude, and then from here, all we have to do, / check infra, you see there, and you can actually get it to come along without typing. If you just press tab, it will tab along and it will automatically pull it through. Check infra, and then boom, it will then run this check infra skill. And there you go, it's now fetching all the stuff. Boom, perfect. Anyway, I'm just going to quit out of that, let's delete it. There we go. And that's how simple it is to use a skill. Now, if you go here, you'll see that it's heavily documented. But honestly, see the best way for things like this, if you are still unsure, is you can of course copy the page here, or you can open it in Markdown, or just chat in Claude AI, or like just literally copy that link and take it to ChatGPT, and then be like, what skills would I benefit from based on our convos? And then it'll go away now and it'll figure it out based on you, because, don't let AI turn you dumb, for sure, but also don't let your worry about being dumbed down stop you from outsourcing work to AI. As long as it's doing something that's productive, like you're at least in some way you're the CEO. If you start removing yourself as the CEO, then you're done. But as long as you're still the CEO and he's just the worker, even the senior manager, directors, co-directors, that's fine. Anyway, so pre-built skills you'd use immediately. So they already have pre-built skills inside of Claude that it will use, as you can see here. And then custom skills where we would get the most leverage. An end-to-end workflow builder, that's cool. YouTube content pipeline, sponsorship management, skill community content skill. So there's a couple examples. And for these, let's just do something simple. So we'll say, create for me the YouTube content pipeline skill. And then it should go now and actually create this markdown file. Let's see, reading the skill creator skill. So there we go, it has a skill creator skill. Boom. You know what I'm going to do? Let me download this. I'll add this into the lesson so you can actually have it, use it yourself. Boom. And then it's going to go now look at the relevant chats and see how can it turn these relevant chats into a skill just like this. And I'll pause the recording and come back when it's done. Right, there we go. So it's created this skill here. So end-to-end YouTube content production system, YouTube content pipeline. And the cool thing here is that now I'll be able to copy this or download it, right? And then we can add this directly into Claude Code. Now, in here, you'd think, right, that doesn't make any sense. Why would I need it here? But the thing is, if we can have some sort of directory, which is like AI Look YouTube channel, and in that directory, we have, you know, little things we want to build, like script generators, etc. Things you would do in Claude anyway, but just now using Claude Code, you could have this skill and it will understand my pipeline. And even to be fair, YouTuber Systems, which is this I'm building here, has to understand my content flow, because that's the fundamental basis for how I'm going to teach other people how they can automate their YouTube process is by referencing mine. So if I add this skill in here, so we can just do, say, skills, go new folder, and we can do YouTube, or, AI Look, YouTube pipeline. Then in here we can create a new file. We can go skill.md, and then from here we can copy that. And now it has this skill, which is its ability to now understand my entire YouTube content pipeline. That's amazing. Let's save that. Oops. Then if we come back here, what else is it doing here? So it's creating some other stuff. Let's see. What other stuff is it creating here? So a description, template. Oh, so it's creating all my other bits and bobs. But basically then we have the, like he's done a bit too much here. But basically we have the skill then that we can now use to reference that. So we could run this, or we could reference this skill when we say something like, you know, because you worry, have I veered too much away from my YouTube content pipeline now? Like when I'm letting Claude Code just add features, are we losing the essence of what it means to have the pipeline? And we can run that. But I think it's, in this specific instance, it's more important for using like these skills. But if you want to know even more about like marketing skills, things like that, honestly, a good guy to check out is Ryan Dozer. I'll link him below. He's kind of ahead of this curve right now, so go check him out. But there you go, agent skills. So agent teams, what are these? Well, I'll come and show you in a moment, but essentially, just a kind of briefer overview, is that instead of, and I'll give you the rationale, having, say, one agent, right, and this agent will maybe have sub-agents, and all of these, this sub-agent will do a specific task, this agent will handle the entire problem, so maybe the goal, right, and then you have another sub-agent, etc. Now these are all within the same confines of one context window, right, so it's just like one agent that can then kind of use other bits. Whereas now this team of agents is a completely different architecture where you have some sort of lead and then you'll have different agents, and these agents will be able to work autonomously. So we'll go agent 2, agent 3, agent 4. We'll have these agents who can now work autonomously, but the cool thing here is they can now talk to each other. So they can try to prioritize and talk to each other. So in this lead situation here, instead of the directional contact being only like this, right? Oops. Back and forth. Oops. Let me move that again. Up this way, down that way. Instead of being like this, they can now talk to each other like this too. And what this facilitates is that the lead can then give them different tasks and they can go and do different things, and say if agent 2 is blocked, then the other agents will be able to find out directly from them and then prioritize their work to unblock this agent. Additionally, is this entire context window situation. So obviously context windows, not obviously, let me rephrase that. Context windows, they have probably about 200,000 right now. You know, that's kind of the general ballpark figure that I see. Now for 200,000 context, as you approach that, so if you have 0 here, 200 here, no, we'll do 0 here, 200 here, and then this is, whatever time. As you approach this 200, the performance gets worse. So, this is worse performance, and this is better. As performance gets worse, as context window increases, so too the performance declines. And so what this actually does here is it allows each model, or each agent, to have their model as well, each agent to have their own context, so that they're reasoning only with the information that's relevant to them, which allows them to get more precise answers. So more precise answers faster, which is the essence behind it. Now, a good implementation of this, which I'll go and show you in a sec, is essentially that I have my application. My application is basically code, and this code is then hosted somewhere so that we can go and access it. Now, intuitively here, you're like, right, well, we need at least 2 different people, because when I'm like, go test it, and this is an issue I've run into, go test it, it will test one side, and then it will ignore this side. So we can obviously fix this by allowing the main Claude Code agent to be the lead, and we can have, say, a coding teammate and an infra teammate, just like the real world, and this is the kind of project manager. And now from here, we can have these different agents using their areas of specialty. And the cool thing, if this wasn't cool enough, is that for here, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. Literally just tell Claude, team, please, and it'll go away and do it. So let's go and check it out. Basically, inside of Orchestrate Teams here on Claude, you can see that all you have to do is set this to 1 or true inside of your settings.json, which I'll go and show you in a moment. And the main difference between them and subagents, essentially, is that subagents run in a single session and can only report back to the main agent, but now you can interact with individual teammates directly without going through the lead. If we scroll down here, you can compare it to subagents. Subagents have their own context window, results returned to the caller, whereas they have their own context window now, fully independent, can talk to teammates, share task lists with each other, best for complex work, higher token cost, but each teammate is a separate Claude instance. So better, but takes longer. And this is what you have to add here into your settings.json. So just copy that, head on over to your settings.json. So I have mine here inside of Claude, and it's just this part here. There we go. Make sure there's a comma here. That's added in. Let's save that. And I think now we'll have to reboot Claude. So what we'll do is we'll just open up a new terminal here. And we'll write in Claude. And we will dangerously skip permissions. Just an absolute mouthful, that. So now we can say, make a team to best work on this project. And because we have our Claude.md, we then know that this new session will be able to understand what this project is all about without having to sift through thousands of lines of code and documentation. So here, we'll see what it comes back with, but I would suspect something like a tester, a front end, a back end, an infra, this kind of stuff. But we'll let it run and see what it comes back with. I'm really interested to see the results as well on this repo, because as I make it more complex, the more it gets a little bit confused as to what's going on. So to divide up functionalities is just, it's perfect. And honestly, the ability to now use infrastructure directly inside code agents is a no-brainer. Because you can now deploy stuff directly using Claude Code. You don't have to do really anything, and if you do, it will just tell you, go and paste in this file. Anyway, I'll come back when this is done. So there we go. We have the 2 agents that it's launched, which is actually kind of what I expected, which is an infra agent and a front-end agent. It says team is up and running. So we have our team, YouTube, our systems, we have our agents, the team lead, infra, front-end, And then he's created a task board as well. So you can see that they're blocked by 1 and 2. So they're going to go to these. The owner, the task. That's so cool. And away it goes, and it's just working on them. Just like that. Now, there is a way to split the terminal up so that you can talk to these agents. So let me show you. So it turns out what you can actually do as well is shift and up. We can actually talk to these as well. So let me see, shift up. You can see that if we shift and up, we can move through. Don't know if you can see down here. But we're moving through the different agents, and that means you can send a message to each agent. So team lead, and I can say, you know, keep going, let me know when they're done, yeah, I suppose. Or we can go to, say, the front end agent and say whatever specific thing you want to ask them directly here. So how is it coming along, or something, I don't know. And you can see now that it's gone green, which means that we're talking to the green front end agent. And we can swap out of here again by shift up and just go to someone else. So we'll go team lead, enter, up to infra agent, enter. And you can go through them to talk to them. If you want to have this split screen malarkey, you have to install tmux or go use iterm2. But I'm not going to do that today. If you want to see that, let me know. But I think this is sufficient for what we're doing now. Is mainly it's about having your work divvied up for better results. So there you go. That is agents or agent teams, or what is it they actually call it? Orchestrate teams of Claude Code sessions. Thought it's worth showing you practically how we can use agent teams in Claude. You need to excuse me, I'm ill currently. So basically, I have a bunch of things that I want to enhance. You can't really see it here, but basically, on YouTuber systems, let me see. On YouTuber systems, you can see session recordings and stuff of people who have used it. And so I have a bunch of things that I want to actually fix about the site. So what I've been able to do is have a kind of back and forth with Claude, and I've enhanced it with talking to ChatGPT as well to come up with like a bunch of things that need fixed. So these are the 3 phases that I want to fix. Now normally with AI you need to go top to bottom, but with concurrent agents you don't have to do this. So all I did was ask it, if you deploy a team of agents, how many could you work in here concurrently? The only thing I want to do personally is this, because I don't want to go away and do that one without me actually just one-on-one working with it. Which is, I suppose, how you could use tmux. But anyway, we have these 3 that it's now mentioned. So 3 concurrent agents. So A works on 1 and 2, B works on 3, C works on 4. Now, if we look here, it just says no file conflicts, which is good because it's figured out which files it should work on. Then it says that number 5 should come after one of them finish, 7 when another one. So it gives you an actual workflow. So in parallel, A, B, C will all work. Then D, then E, then me. Hey, there you go. So, yes, spin up the team. That was the default message that I suggested. And so now it will go away and actually use these different people. So you can see that it's going to check out a new branch, and it will do this for each of the agents, or it should. We'll see in real time it working or not. But it should now go and spin up these 3 agents to work in parallel. Because as it said, 1, 2, 3, and 4 can all be done in parallel, which is brilliant. Because now we don't have to worry about doing this one at a time. Which is funny because it's actually, side note, whenever I talk to AI about like this kind of stuff, I have all this to do. It'll be like, week 1, do this. Week 2, do this. And it's like, bro, we're AI. We can do whatever we want. So let me see. What's it doing here? So it's got a new branch. It's doing some research. After this, it should spin up the agents. Come on, spin them up. There we go. Right, now let me spawn up 3 agents in parallel. Oh wait, so these are the 3 agents. Research, creator, tracker. Aha, there we go. Right, research agent. Boom. Hey, that's cool. Look, main and research agent, refine agent. Haha, that is cool. Look at that. So there, that's that one.
he's working. Research agent's working. Refine agent's working. Tracking agent, where are you? Bam, there we go. Tracking agent's working. Hey, that's cool, man. I think I suppose the next thing we need to learn is how can we use tmux to actually see them working concurrently, because that would be cool. But again, it's one of these things that would be cool, but in reality, I'm just going to leave that now and go away and work on something else. So I suppose my tendencies to want to work on multiple things at once is a dream come true for a vibe coder. Anyway, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it helps. I'll see you later.
And there you have it. That's the masterclass. If you enjoyed it, check out the school community where we have even more lessons getting added every single day. You can ask me questions and I'll help you, as well as a group of other people, business owners, entrepreneurs, all using Claude Code to automate their business and build apps. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.